All right, welcome back. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a brand that just seemed to explode out of nowhere and become a global sensation, Indē Wild. Now, I know what you might be thinking, another influencer brand, but trust me, this is different. This is a complete masterclass in how to build a business with a community at its absolute core. It's a fascinating story. Let's get into it. So, just to give you a sense of the scale we're talking about, let's start with one number, 100 crore annual run rate. What does that mean? Well, it means they're on a pace to sell over 12 million US dollars worth of product in a single year. For a brand that's only been around for a few years, that is absolutely wild. It's not just growth, it's a rocket ship. So that begs the big question, right? In a beauty market that is so incredibly crowded, I mean, it's saturated with influencer brands, how in the world did Indē Wilds not only survive, but thrive? What was their secret sauce? Well, they didn't just play the game, they basically wrote a whole new playbook. And today, we're going to walk through it chapter by chapter. Okay, so here's our game plan. We're going to look at 5 key chapters. First, the founder's big leap. Then, the secret weapon, their community-first strategy. We'll get into the absolutely insane launch, the tough reality that came after, and finally, their plan to build a billion-dollar empire. All right, let's kick it off with Section 1, the influencer to founder leap. This is all about that huge pivot from being a content creator to actually creating a company from scratch. So the story starts with co-founder Deepa Khosla. And funnily enough, she didn't start in beauty or even fashion. She was a law student. From there, she spent the next 7 or 8 years building a huge, successful career as an influencer. But eventually, she hit a wall. She called it influencer fatigue. You know, that feeling of burnout? She had all these ideas swirling around, but it was her husband and co-founder Oleg who finally said, "Babe, that's enough. You gotta pick one. Let's do this." And that one idea, well, that became Indē Wild. And that decision leads us right into the most important part of this whole story, Section 2, a community-built brand. And look, this isn't just some marketing tagline they cooked up. This is the heart and soul of their entire strategy. It's what made them different from the very beginning. Instead of creating a product in a lab and then trying to convince people to buy it, they did the exact opposite. They built this simple genius 3-step loop. First, find a real problem people are having. Second, talk to them, engage with them, and understand that problem inside and out. And third, create the solution with them. It sounds so simple, but almost nobody does it this deeply. And when I say deeply, I mean it. Get this, they ran over 60 focus groups on Zoom. Hours and hours talking to women in the US, the UK, India. And they kept hearing the same thing over and over. People were just overwhelmed. They'd say, "I am so confused by this 13-step skincare routine," or, "Look, I'm a busy woman. I just need something simple that works." So the light bulb moment was, why sell 12 different bottles when you could put 11 or 12 powerful, active ingredients into one? They didn't have to guess what people wanted. Their community told them exactly what to build. And you have to understand, this wasn't just about making things easy. For Deepa, it was about integrity. Having been an influencer, she had seen it all. She was just tired of the noise. And this quote from her says everything. "I'll be damned if I put more shit in the market. Unless you can add to the beauty industry, don't launch it." That was her guiding principle. So they had this strong philosophy, and they had a product built by their community. But did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. Which brings us to Section 3, the explosive launch. This is where all that hard work paid off in a really, really big way. I mean, just look at these numbers. They're absolutely staggering. On launch day, the website goes live, and in the first 2 minutes, 150 orders. Deepa said she was literally screaming because she couldn't figure out how people were typing their credit card info in that fast. Within 3 months, they hit $500,000 in revenue. Their goal was to hit that number in an entire year. And then, just 1 month later, boom, they secured a $3 million seed round. It was just one milestone after another. Now here's a really critical detail. Before any investors, before any of that seed money came in, the first people to bet on Indē Wild were the founders themselves. They funded the whole thing with their own life savings. We're talking a full year of Deepa's income as an influencer, plus everything Oleg had in the bank. They went all in. They bet everything on this idea. And then there's this story, which is just, it's almost too good to be true. So before they even started looking for investors, Deepa made a vision board. And on that board, she wrote down this exact headline, the exact words. A few months go by, and who calls them out of the blue? Unilever Ventures.
They hadn't even reached out. Unilever came to them and ended up leading the investment round. She literally manifested a headline into reality. It's incredible. Okay, so a massive launch, a vision board coming to life. It all sounds like a perfect fairy tale. But we all know that's never the whole story. And this brings us to a super important reality check. Section 4, the grind and the hate. This is about what happens after the initial hype dies down.
Oleg put it perfectly. He said for a little while, quote, "We were the hot shit, man. Everyone wanted to talk to them, everyone wanted to be a part of it. But then, as he says, quote, that fizzled quickly. Then the real stuff happens. The hard, unglamorous, day in, day out work of actually running a company." Because success is never a straight line up. It's this chaotic, wiggly line. And they went through it all. They had product issues they had to fix. They had logistical nightmares trying to ship things across 4 different countries. They made hiring mistakes that were painful to undo. They got hit with unexpected legal battles that came with massive bills. It's just a constant barrage of problems that puts this immense, invisible stress on you as a founder. And on top of all that operational chaos, they had to deal with public criticism. A big one was about price. People would say, "Why is your Junkie hair oil 1,400 rupees? I can get coconut oil for 200. And this slide explains it perfectly. It's not an apples to apples comparison. It's not even apples to oranges. Parachute has 1 ingredient. Indē Wild's oil has 16 active ingredients. And they're not just any ingredients. They're premium, certified, clinically tested materials that cost a fortune compared to a standard raw material. It's a completely different product from a different universe. What's really telling is how they handle criticism. As an influencer, Deepa developed a thick skin for personal online hate, the trolls. But they both say that a negative customer review, someone saying the product didn't work for them, that hits so much harder. That hurts more than any random hater online because it's about the thing they've poured their entire lives into. It just shows how much they care about the customer and the product. So they've navigated the crazy launch, they've survived the grind. What's the big picture? That brings us to our final chapter, building a unicorn. This is all about their grand vision to create a truly global brand that's proudly rooted in Indian heritage. At its core, their mission is cultural. They're taking these beautiful, ancient Indian wellness practices like the Junkie, which is the ritual of pre-shampoo hair oiling, and they're introducing them to the rest of the world. I mean, hair oiling was not a thing in the West a few years ago. Now it's a massive trend on TikTok, and it's being driven by the authenticity of brands like Indē Wild. And the proof is in the pudding, or, in this case, the product. Check out this stat for their hero Junkie hair oil, a 60% repeat purchase rate. Let that sink in. 6 out of every 10 people who buy it come back and buy it again. In the consumer goods world, that is the holy grail. That's how you know your product isn't just hype, it actually works and people love it. But they're not a one-trick pony. Their next big thing is the Moonlight Scalp Serum. This is a totally different product. It's a super lightweight, water-based serum you just leave in your hair overnight. And it's filled with these advanced peptides that are all about nourishing your scalp to reduce shedding and actually help promote new, healthy hair. And here is where you really see their ambition. This isn't just some nice-smelling serum. They are so confident in the science behind it that they are putting it through intense clinical trials against minoxidil, a leading pharmaceutical drug for hair loss. Think about that. They're not just trying to make a good beauty product. They're trying to prove that their natural formula can go toe-to-toe with a pharmaceutical solution. That's a huge statement. So what is the ultimate goal here? Well, a major benchmark was just set in the Indian beauty space when the brand Minimalist had a massive exit for around $300 million. An amazing success story. But for Indē Wild, that's just the starting line. Their ambition is to build a true global unicorn, a company worth over $1 billion. And they plan to do it by winning in both the fastest-growing market, India, and the biggest market, the US. Which really leaves us with this final question. When you look at everything they've done, taking local traditions global, putting science and efficacy first, and building the entire brand hand in hand with their community, you have to wonder, is this the new blueprint? Is this what it takes to build an authentic, beloved, and massively successful beauty brand in the modern world? It sure looks like it.